Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite things, Star Wars. I say Star Wars is one of my favorite things, and I love Marvel. I love DC. There's a lot of brands. I was a huge G.I. Joe fan as a kid. Masters of the Universe, Mask, Ninja Turtles. But one thing that has stuck with me and I've imparted onto my son is my love of Star Wars. Now, I say that as Star Wars is in a very, very dark place right now, but we're going to dive into all that in the video. So please make sure your seat backs and tray tables are in their upright position as we're about to hit light speed and head right into this video.
Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination.
We just passed May the 4th, which is Star Wars Day, and everybody knows that as everybody says May the 4th be with you and all kinds of jokes and fun. And Star Wars Day used to be something that you could look forward to. It was fun, especially being a collector, to go out and hunt for figures and, watch the movies, and especially being a parent. It's always fun to sit back and, enjoy these things that you loved as a child with your kids now. It's just the generation to generation thing. Now, with that being said, I'm not some old curmudgeon. Please don't get me wrong there. There's a lot of new entertainment that I enjoy. But where Star Wars is concerned, if it was quality new entertainment, such as The Mandalorian, none of us have problems with The Mandalorian. I mean, there's small issues along the way, but nothing big that is going to seriously hinder the fan base's love of this new show that kind of took us back to where we came from, to our roots as fans. The simplicity of it all. Just the raw fun and energy and excitement and wonder that Star Wars can bring so many people. But this year's May the 4th didn't bring those good tidings and fun of the days of yore of Star Wars. No, it hung a dark cloud over the brand and the IP and the fans who truly want the entertainment to go back to the state that it once lived in of greatness. And what was that dark cloud, you ask? It just lockstepped in tune with the continual clown show that is Kathleen Kennedy's regime and leadership at Lucasfilm, none of which has been good outside of The Mandalorian, which she had little to no involvement with, and if all rumors are true, she wasn't even allowed on the set, and for good reason. It kept her hands off of it, so she couldn't do stuff like this. Lucasfilm confirms Leslie Headland is getting a Disney Plus Star Wars show. When interviewed, Leslie Headland couldn't even pick a favorite Star Wars movie. She just said she wanted to live in the universe, and then went on to say, Kathleen Kennedy, please, Queen, please give me a job. I mean, if it doesn't get any more cringy than that, someone who obviously doesn't care about the mythos because she said she wants to rewrite parts of the history and pay no attention to George Lucas's guidance and creation and his mythos. No. She wants something new. That comes from somebody who also said this in an interview with Variety.
Like, I think white women need to kind of step up their game, to be quite honest. Like, sorry, but I'm calling you bitches out. Like, I'm also seeing the silent killer, which is a lot of white women.
Everything I've seen and heard from this woman is pure cringe that really has no place in Star Wars. Her ideology doesn't mix. It's almost as if we just need to sound the woke horn that every time Leslie Headland opens her mouth. Here we go. So yes, the rumors are true. We are getting that female-centric Star Wars show from Leslie Headland, which wouldn't be a problem with it being female-centric if they weren't going to make it a feminist agenda show and push all the male characters aside, because these strong women don't need no man, and men are only there to be stepped over to prop up these female characters because these writers and quote-unquote creatives aren't smart enough to do it on their own. Now, speaking of creatives, that brings me to my next point that happened on Star Wars Day, the next piece of bad news that took place on a day that should be filled with good news. Taika Waititi will direct and co-write a new Star Wars movie. Now, the other co-writer is half of the duo that wrote 1917, which is a critically acclaimed movie. I believe it was nominated for Best Picture. I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to watch it, but I just haven't yet. Taika Waititi is a hit or miss for me because I hated Thor Ragnarok. What we do in the shadows is acceptable. I know a lot of people who really love that show. I think it looks funny. I haven't seen the movie or the show for more than a couple minutes of it. Not bad, but I don't like the way his humor will mix with a Star Wars movie. Now, there's something to be said for the fact that he played IG-11 in The Mandalorian, and he directed the season finale of The Mandalorian, which was good. But do I trust him after watching Thor Ragnarok and knowing what he's doing with Thor Love and Thunder? No, I do not trust him as far as I can throw him. And on top of all that, let's take a look at a few tweets after it was announced that he would be writing, directing Love and Thunder, the Thor 4 movie coming out. Taika had this in response to say, to the fans of Thor who did not want to see the Jane Foster run just because of Norse mythology, I'll ruin your mythos in a minute, baby. I mean, is that really what you want, your director trolling fans on Twitter? And then there's this gem. A fan expresses his concern about what he doesn't want in the Thor movie, and Taika takes the time to respond and says, there, you'll get over it when you realize you don't want until I give it to you. I mean, again, did both of these idiots go to the Rian Johnson school of how to behave on social media once you're named the director of a major product that belongs to a huge brand?
It's treason, then.
Even the lovely and talented Daisy Ridley knows these two don't belong in Star Wars, hashtag not my Star Wars. But they're in no way the biggest offenders yet. And I think this meme I made just for this video pretty much sums up every real Star Wars fan's attitude towards Disney Lucasfilm since they've taken over and released the cinematic abortion that is the sequel trilogy, Solo, Star Wars Resistance, the cartoon show. Why can't you just be Star Wars? And all we get back are screams of that sound like a Wookiee in his last dying moments. But this man is at the crux of the issue. Old moon-faced Death Star head Rian Johnson, Sir Rian Johnson of the House of Roundhead, if you will, with his quote-unquote subversive masterpiece, The Last Jedi, which basically, in every sense of the word, broke the Star Wars franchise. For all the people that didn't like The Force Awakens, nobody was as violently offended by that as they were The Last Jedi, which we're going to look at some numbers here after we talk about the crux of the issue of this man and how he just didn't understand Star Wars or good filmmaking in general. Star Wars actor says Rian Johnson didn't do his homework for The Last Jedi. You can't reinvent Star Wars without knowing Star Wars first. This by Sam Warner. Came out yesterday on Digital Spy. Break into this article. Star Wars actor Sam Witwer has criticized The Last Jedi director Rian Johnson for not doing his homework when making the movie.
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
The 8th movie in the main Skywalker saga proved very divisive among fans when it was released back in 2017. Many criticisms focusing on how characters such as Luke Skywalker were handled.
I feel something.
You feel it?
Yes, I feel it.
That's the Force.
Really?
Wow, it must be really strong
Oh,
of
I've
you.
never felt any. Ow!
Witwer, who has voiced a number of characters in the franchise's TV shows and video games, notably Darth Maul, seems to be among those voicing their displeasure at the movie. Last Jedi, to me, felt like a movie made by a guy who hadn't quite done his homework, he suggested during a Twitch live stream. I think Rian Johnson's a talented guy. That's where we disagree, Sam.
He was a retard.
But Bruce Lee didn't develop Jeet Kune Do without learning Kung Fu first. You can't reinvent Star Wars without knowing Star Wars first, and he didn't.
He was a retard.
For me, make a compelling argument why Luke wouldn't go and help his sister. This is also true. Or, if indeed Luke is hiding out on that island because he feels so badly for how he handled Kylo Ren, then why is Luke trash-talking Kylo Ren at the end of the movie? Which is it? Do you feel bad that you hurt this boy, or do you trash-talk him? This is the main disconnect with Rian Johnson. He does things to be subversive.
Everybody knows you never go full retard. You went full retard, man. Never go full retard.
It doesn't work for him because he's not smart enough to do it. And you can spare me how brilliant Knives Out was because it wasn't. Because making your main character vomit because she can't lie is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
He was a retard.
He went on to note that it was his opinion, while also praising some aspects of the movie, adding, there were a lot of things in The Last Jedi that I think was compelling in a Rian Johnson filmmaker point of view.
We don't do that.
They just didn't fit Star Wars. I will say the cinematography was good, the way it was shot, but the story, the action, the character development, it was trash. I don't think he did his Star Wars homework. I'm talking like the themes, what it's about, what the characters are about. But as a standalone film, if I don't know what the Jedi are or who Luke is or what he represents, I think there's some compelling things in there. If that's meaningful to you, that's awesome. While many have hit out at The Last Jedi, Johnson has defended his movie numerous times, arguing last year that the risks he took were in keeping with franchise tradition. No.
Stupid! 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 You're so stupid!
I mean, look at the original trilogy as probably like a gourmet breakfast, if you will. Now, just bear with me here because I'm kind of hungry as filming this has went into lunch. I mean, the original trilogy gave us Darth Vader, Palpatine, Princess Leia, the original strong female character, Obi-Wan Kenobi, the droids, Chewbacca, Luke Skywalker, the titular hero, and of course, that scoundrel Han Solo. I think that pretty much sums up my attitude right there. I mean, then of course you go into the prequel trilogy, which is like, I would say, a solid lunch. For all the hate that The Phantom Menace gets, it is a solid movie that sets up a lot of great mythos and does some amazing world building. Attack of the Clones, cringy dialogue, Anakin and Padme's love story. You know, it served its purpose. Was it executed the best? No. Revenge of the Sith, though, is my third favorite Star Wars movie overall behind Empire and A New Hope. See, with breakfast and lunch out of the way, you decide to go out for a gourmet dinner. Now, you go to a restaurant, which is your favorite restaurant. It's always been your favorite restaurant. You order your meal. You order filet mignon, bacon-wrapped filet mignon, because it's delicious, let's be honest. The chef comes back and says, you know what? I don't think you want that. I know what you want. Then the chef proceeds to bring you a vegan steak made of nothing but soy filler that checks boxes but doesn't satisfy your hunger for the meal that you really wanted. And that's exactly what the sequel trilogy was. Soy-based vegan paste that was pretending to be what came before it, which was a great, amazing steak. As you can clearly see, The Force Awakens strong on Rotten Tomatoes in both audience and critic score. Now, Rotten Tomatoes I don't trust, but I trust box office. The box office numbers from Box Office Mojo, $2,068,223,624. That right there is what steered Bob Iger into making Star Wars Galaxy's Edge into a sequel trilogy themed park instead of going with the original and prequel trilogy stuff, which would have sold like gangbusters. Okay? Now, let's look at the next installment. Oh, The Last Jedi. How great is this movie? The critics, of course, shill out at a 91%, but the audience score, 43%. It made $700 million less than the previous installment, The Force Awakens. I wonder why. That one clip right there is why nobody wanted to see Luke Skywalker end up a bitter old man who just complained and whined and hid from everything, because that's not who Luke is or was inherently. And this movie, it was a horrible middle to a trilogy. Worse than Attack of the Clones, okay? The Empire Strikes Back set the bar for a middle movie in the Star Wars trilogies. Attack of the Clones is way more serviceable than The Last Jedi. Bar none regardless. I don't care what you say. It even has a higher audience score, ladies and gentlemen. And that brings us to The Rise of Skywalker, which sits at a 52% critics and 86% audience. Ironically, 86% that has not dropped at all. And the audience ratings, verified ratings, pour in, but the score has not changed at all since that movie hit theaters, which there's something afoot here. But you can see this movie made considerably less than The Last Jedi did. So there's a downward trend here. Solo, the first Star Wars movie to lose money. This movie was hated by the critics because of what it did to The Last Jedi, because the critics lauded The Last Jedi as this progressive masterpiece, which truly is not what Star Wars fans want. It was already progressive. It was already inclusive, but they thought we needed a ham-fisted representation model to go by, a feminist model, which we did not. All we wanted was to be entertained, and apparently these days, that's too much to ask. And now with Leslie Headland coming into Star Wars, there's rumors that she's finally going to bring Brie Larson into a galaxy far, far away, which it was bad enough having her play Captain Marvel, a character that nobody cared about. Now all she does is anger the fan base because of her activism. She puts her activism ahead of her acting, and you can tell which one she's more skilled at, and that would be being an activist. But the thing is, nobody cares, Brie. So, what do you guys think about the future of Star Wars with these announcements that we were privy to on May the 4th, Star Wars Day as it were? I eulogized Star Wars on my podcast Monday night because I truly feel that there's nowhere to go. After the High Republic and what's rumored, they're going to go after Yoda in the High Republic because they've already got a Jedi that they said is the most powerful Jedi, and Yoda's still alive and very much in his prime at that time period. Now we have Leslie Headland coming in and Taika Waititi, people that we don't trust with Star Wars or shouldn't trust with Star Wars because of what they've done in the past with other IPs and projects. So this is the point where you guys opine. Let's wrap it up because this has gone on quite a while, and I know many of you probably won't have watched this far, but if you do, congratulations and thank you. I truly appreciate it because I did put a lot of work into this video. Now it's time for the go home. Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments below. There's where you can find us all across social media. Hail the Fandom Collective. You'll be able to find this video uploaded over on their channel soon. Go over there and subscribe. And hail to thee, my subscribers. Hail to the Fandom Menace, a community which we are greatly proud to be a part of and proudly represent here on the channel. I am Itepokuin of the Place to Be Reviews. I've been here with all of yous, and if I don't see you, have a great day and a pleasant tomorrow.